And now, dun, dun. That's my
What
Hans
was
Zimmer.
that? What was that? That was your Hans Zimmer.
That's my Hans Zimmer score. Bah, bah. Does that sound like
Gotta
it?
keep working on that.
Oh,
Well, I'll
yeah,
ask Julian what he thinks.
I'll try. Hey, Julian, if you're listening and you want to like sample my voice, I could do that, and you can put it in your tracks. On to our review of Inception, written and directed by Christopher Nolan. It is about a thief, played by Leonardo DiCaprio, who steals corporate secrets through the use of dream sharing technology. He's given the inverse task of planting an idea into the mind of a CEO, a process which is called Inception.
Okay.
Yes. All right, on to the movie review. Will, what did you like? Then we'll talk about what we didn't like, and then we'll give this movie our final review. First, what you liked.
Whew, man. All right. So I remember, man, when I first watched the trailer and saw Nolan's take on dreams and espionage, it blew my mind. And it just got me so excited. I was all in. Of course, like, the ensemble cast was a powerhouse, like DiCaprio, Joe Gordon-Levitt, Tom Hardy, Michael Caine, Ellen Page, Ken Watanabe, and the freaking beautiful, gorgeous Marion Cotillard. Like, it was such a perfect cast from top to bottom. I just love how Nolan structures his stories as well. Like, I love how he's so meticulous every step of the way. As you also stated, like, people love to work with him, and also he's just very professional at what he does. The film starts at the end, then jumps to the beginning, and then brings it all together with a great twist at at the end, at the conclusion.
Yeah.
It's just he's just such a brilliant guy to be able to pull that kind of storytelling off. And when I recently rewatched the film, I forgot how sad and deep the message was with the storyline revolving around Cobb and his wife Maul. The repercussion and guilt Cobb had to carry after planting an idea into Maul due to her lack of not wanting to leave the dream state and then ending up having her commit suicide dramatically shows through Cobb's character in the entire film. You feel his burden and guilt, and you just sympathize with his struggle, and just dude, the toll that it takes on him, especially when he's trying to do a job. It also made me think about the psychology that questions how a person can be influenced or influence themselves to believe what is not real. Like the whole mind over matter can be a trip, and like we've all experienced it in our life before, where we see people who truly are convinced, they convince themselves that this is what the truth is. And no matter how hard you try to kind of tell them you're wrong.
Like the earth is flat. One of those things.
Flat earthers. Yeah, sure.
Is that what they're called? Flat earthers?
They're called flat earthers. Yeah. And there's a Facebook page, wow. I think with over I might be wrong, 25,000 members or 250,000 members. It's one of those. You literally, and there's also obviously the documentary on Netflix about it. It's hilarious. But seriously, it's like, how do they're just stuck in limbo in that kind of reality of theirs that they choose to go with. So, I think that for me, I really took away from this film just how awesome it makes you rethink about the thoughts that you've had before, but not able to articulate it in a way until like Nolan makes this film, and you're just like, whoa, like, what a great way to really, create a story that makes you revisit these kinds of thoughts you've had in the past, and to be able to have a better vision and like kind of perspective on it. So I love this film. This film was really, really great. So
right.
But that's what I liked. Yeah. What about you?
Well, one of the points I have is agreeing with what you said. Nolan has a way, not only in this movie, but in all of his movies, he has these big, grand ideas that are like gigantic and huge. The stakes are big. The action set pieces are big. but it's all tied to the reality of characters and the hard choices that they have to make, and sometimes the results that happen. If you think about like just a handful of scenes, we're talking about Bruce Wayne, the love of his life is murdered by the Joker. We're talking about in this movie how Dom's wife Mal kills herself, and he has to live with that guilt. We're talking about that scene where in Interstellar, when Matthew McConaughey finds out that like a decade, I don't know how much time has passed, but because he was on that planet and he comes back to his ship, and he made a promise to his kids that he will be back, but he sees that they've all gotten older and he's just weeping. His characters are just dragged through the mud and have to endure so much, and that's why I think his movies resonate so well. It's these big ideas that are anchored down into like hard personal choices and the results that come from them, and that's why I think that his movies are just so well beloved. In this movie specifically, it's the grand epic storytelling that's anchored, like I said, to the deep personal stakes. And I love how in this movie he ties like big ideas that are common to us, this idea of dreaming, how we're not sure when a dream starts, when a dream ends. We've all had the dreams where we wake up and we're still in a dream. We all have experienced this. So when we see it in the movie, we're all like, oh yeah, I know that. I've been in there. I know what that's about. And he doesn't over explain those points, but instead he uses what you already know about something and then adds to it with his own bits of exposition. And there's a lot of it here because there has to be, because he's telling a brand new idea, right? Yeah. Hans Zimmer, one of his best scores by far. I'm not a huge fan of the low brass sections, but there are some like electric guitar driven licks in this film that I really love. And also the percussion driven track of when, Leonardo DiCaprio is on the run in Mombasa. Really, really love that scene. The action scenes are huge. We're talking about a train plowing through downtown Los Angeles. We're talking about a scene in the third level of the dream, which is covered in snow, which feels more like something out of Call of Duty than it's something else.
No, dude, Metal Gear Solid. First, when I saw that, I was like, oh my gosh, this is the first stage of the level of Metal Gear Solid when you first started. It was such... That also got me super excited when I saw that. So, oh, man.
And also, like, the action scenes are huge. And they all are anchored within the story. Once again, it's the big ideas that never feel like they exist purely for just entertainment's sake, something that you would get out of like a Michael Bay film. We talked a little bit about the ending and why we loved it and how it's perfect for this film. We also wanted to just, I also really love the perfect casting, and it's so many characters that were at their prime at the moment, or this film also introduced us to new people. This is the first time I actually noticed Tom Hardy. And looking back, I know he was in films like Black Hawk Down, but this is the first time he really stuck out. And I think it's kind of what kind of elevated him to superstardom. So yeah, those are the things that I loved in the film. Let's talk about our weak points. What are some of the things that you did not like?
So from the synopsis, the story is about planting an idea into the mind of a CEO. The only issue I had with the film was when the team was in the third stage of the dream state, which was Fisher's, the CEO they needed to execute Inception. Due to time restraints, Cobb made Ariadne basically tell him if there was a shortcut to infiltrate the building. Right. Ariadne was reluctant to tell him due to Cobb's issue with his memory of Maul always interrupting and sabotaging the mission he's a part of. But once Ariadne told Cobb, he tells her to tell the team, which then I was confused. I was like, why couldn't you just tell her to tell the team and then turn off his comms from hearing it so that Maul doesn't interrupt from sabotaging? That was because from there I thought, are they going to go to that shortcut? No, they didn't. They went on a different direction. So it's just that part kind of threw me off. That was literally though the only really small part of it that.
So in a movie of this scope and size, where he's introducing an entirely new logic as it pertains to dreams, it's kind of crazy that would be the only thing that you had an issue with.
Yeah,
it's bravo, Mr. Nolan.
Yeah,
that's incredible.
Exactly. Yeah, so.
Cool.
What about you though? That was literally it though.
Yeah.
Because this film was great. This film was just awesome and brilliant. So yeah. What about you?
Well, first off, I think there are a lot of thin things in the movies, thin points, and I bet that there are probably some holes in the logic of all the stuff that we're seeing. But I think you're willing to forgive a lot in a movie like this because, like I said, we're being introduced to a whole new world with its own rules as we go. And if we don't understand something, it's okay. We're not expecting to know everything because it's a whole brand new like realization of a vision that we're seeing from a director, you know. And you're also
mind, basically.
yeah, and you're also willing to forgive a lot of poorly given exposition, like when people are literally asking as they go, what's this, what's that, and you have to explain how, you know, Inception works, or how this whole thing of going into people's dreams work, right? And you know, it's okay, because number one, we want to know the answers, and number two, like, we have to know those things so that we can continue on and the movie makes sense with us. So the movie wasn't fully comprehensible during my first watch, but it's okay. However, there are a couple things that I want to bring to people's attention here. First thing is this: Ken Watanabe's character Saito is basically a walking plot device. It's like, you know, they're trying to kind of get through the movie, and they need certain things to happen, and certain things have to be made available, and then you have a guy who apparently has unlimited resources that is just popping up at all the opportune moments to offer his assistance, right? So first off, he gives Dom a way out, right? He says, I can clear your name and get those charges dropped. It's like, okay, how would you be able to do that? And then, of course, they have to buy an airline so that they can introduce the idea into Fisher's mind. I just bought the airline. They kind of use it for laughs in that scene, right? And
he's
of course,
a billionaire. That's like my thought, though. He's like,
Yeah.
this guy's a billionaire. You know,
Yeah.
huge corporation. Yeah.
Here's the really weird one. You know, Dom is having this huge chase in Mombasa, and the people from the organization that hired him, they're after him, right? And they're shooting at him. But of course, what happens at the time when he's about to get caught? Saito just shows up with a car, get in the car. And then DiCaprio says, like, what are you doing here? He's like, I'm just protecting my investment. And it's just like, okay, that's like 4 or 5 times where this guy just shows up out of nowhere and offers a solution, just so that the plot can keep moving forward. They get away with it because he's Ken Watanabe. He brings such presence and charisma, and he's also just a really cool, fun character. And you know, it works, but
man, he's a billionaire, bro. When you have billions of dollars and you can do all that stuff. I mean, that's the assumption, obviously. Yeah. So
the other thing is, I'm not a huge fan of Tom Berenger's performance as Browning. He is basically the godfather of Fisher. He's a little over the top and like is chewing the scenery a little bit, but it's okay.
You know, he probably looked at the script. He was like, This is the only lines I have. All right, well, I gotta go all out.
Yeah. You know what's funny is that I don't know if this is a thing that Nolan tries, but it's like he takes actors that were really big back in the day and kind of puts them in every now and then into his movies. He had Anthony Michael Hall from The Breakfast Club in The Dark Knight. He had Matthew Modine in The Dark Knight Rises, and here he has Tom Berenger in Inception. So it's really interesting to see. Anyway, on to our final reviews of the film. Will, why don't you go first?
4.5 stars out of 5, man. Superb story, out of the box concept, powerhouse cast from the brilliant mind of Christopher Nolan. So solid.
Got it.
Solid. What about you?
I give this one 4 stars. It's an amazing mindbender of a movie whose only weaknesses come from trying to be too big, too original, and too much. But those are small problems to have because it's such an ambitious and amazing film. I watched it last night with Hannah. She was actually super tired, but she stayed awake the whole time because she didn't remember the movie. And then afterwards, she was like, wow, that was really good. And I was like, yeah, I know, right?
But then she was like, wait, was I dreaming all this right now? 'Cause I'm so tired.
Yeah.
Did you really say that? Just kidding.
That was our in-depth review of the film Inception. Definitely worth a rewatch. For our YouTube viewers, we'll be back in a day or so with a look back at our top 5 Christopher Nolan movies of all time. And for our podcast listeners, we will take a short break.